Today is Monday, Parashat Ki Tetze. Parashat this week includes in it many mitzvot. One of the mitzvot of the parasha is to pay employees on time. If you agree that you're going to be paying the employee on the first of the month for the month that just passed, you're not allowed to delay the payment of that salary. You must pay it on the first, and if a person doesn't pay it on the first, then you'd have transgressed a mitzvah mina Torah. If it's a day laborer and you're supposed to pay him at the end of the workday, then you must pay him at the end of the workday. You cannot delay it until the next day. And there is an interesting situation that can be sometimes, and just to illustrate the importance of this mitzvah of paying employees on time. In the summertime, we typically start praying the prayer of Shabbat on Friday evening early, while it's still daytime. The sun is still out. It's still not the time of Shabbat starts based on the time of lighting candles. But we want to finish early, and that's sometimes it'd be very practical in areas in the northern hemisphere in the summer. You know, if you are in Paris or in London or in some of the Scandinavian countries, you know, Shabbat may come in at a very late hour of the evening, maybe like even 10:30 in the evening. It could in some of the northern parts. So many communities, even including our synagogue, in the summertime, we start the evening prayer of Shabbat while it's still daylight, and we bring in Shabbat early. So for us, as we started Shabbat while it was still daylight, we are restricted from any activity that is forbidden to do on Shabbat, because Shabbat would have started for us. You are allowed to accept Shabbat early and start your Shabbat earlier than what is indicated on the calendar times that Shabbat starts. But what happened after the prayer and you've accepted Shabbat early, and it's still daylight outside, and for you Shabbat has started, and you remembered that there was an employee that you were supposed to pay on that day of Friday, and for some reason you forgot to take care of it. Are you allowed to pay the employee, even writing a check, which would not be allowed on Shabbat? For you, Shabbat started already. But since for the whole world Shabbat did not start yet, and since the mitzvah of paying employees on time is something that is commanded by the Torah, you are to pay that employee, even if you have to write a check, to do anything that is necessary to make sure that the payment of his salary is paid on time. And this is just one of the mitzvot of the parasha of this week. So sensitive we are to the needs of employees and to protect the rights of the employees, and one of them is definitely to be paid on time. There's another aspect that has to do with employees in the parasha of this week. If you have, let's say, a farm, and employees are working in the farm picking fruits, let's say, one of the halachot, one of the mitzvot of the Torah, is that you should allow your employees to eat from the fruits that they're working in. That you cannot restrain them from enjoying some of the fruits as they're working in that field. And by the way, there's another mitzvah in the Torah about lo tachsom shor bedisho. If you have an ox who's threshing the grains of wheat, you know, they used to have these animals like walking and trampling on the grain to separate the actual grain from the cover of the grain. And you're not allowed to muzzle the animal as he's working on that threshing floor, because he's looking at the food. He would be interested in eating some of it. He has a taste for it in his mouth. He wants to already enjoy some of the food that he's working on. You're not allowed to muzzle him. So the Torah is very sensitive to employees' payment on time, to them being able to eat when they're working with, and even with animals. We're sensitive to the plight and the suffering of the animals, that we should not restrain that animal while he's looking at the food and is desirous of eating some of that food. Also, one of the other halachot is, you cannot, you cannot take an ox and a donkey and have them plow the field at the same time. And there are reasons for it. Maybe one is stronger than the other, he'll be pulling the other. One chews its cud and the other one doesn't. So as the ox chews its cud, the donkey might feel that how come he's eating, and the donkey says, how come he's not eating himself? So to avoid this kind of misconception, or also because of the strength that each one will pull at a different strength, a different pace, the Torah is sensitive and is humane in a way for animals to make sure that we don't put any undue suffering on them. Even in serving meals, if you have a pet, your pet would come first to be eating before even you. Because the pasuk in Kriyat Shema says, speaks about the grass being in the field for you animals, and then you'll eat and be satisfied. So there is an order there. Again, to be sensitive to the feelings, or to be humane even to animals, how we act towards them. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.